Wardrobe for the Bass Tour Anglers podcast provided by Koppel Outfitters. Go have an adventure. Visit them online at www.koppeloutfitters.com and on social media at Koppel Outfitters.
Man, it shows how to perform.
Well, get those life vests zipped and clipped, strap down those rods, and stash away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bass Tour Anglers podcast. Thanks for being with us today. Tacticam fisheye cameras makes this podcast possible. Tacticam. This is the company that offers high-resolution action cameras for about half the cost of what the other guys charge. Are you in the market for an action camera? Be sure to check out Tacticam fisheye camera. You'll be glad you did. We are honored to say that we are the Western representatives for ducket fishing. You know these guys, the strongest pro staff in all professional fishing. If you have any questions about the ducket fishing lineup of pro-driven products, send us a DM on Instagram or go to our website, basstouranglers.com, and send us an email. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a comment if you're so inclined. Our guest today has a legacy of tournament success in both BASS events and Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour. He was the BASS Central Open Angler of the Year in 2017 and fished the BASS Elite Series in 2018. He switched over to Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour, where he still continues to fish today. He won the WON Bass US Open in 2015, and he just captured his second US Open championship this past week. Roy Hawk, welcome to the Bass Tour Anglers podcast. Thanks for being with us today.
Wow, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You know, the U.S. Open, I mean, I'm a Southern California native, and I have fished the U.S. Open before, not for quite a while, but I have fished that event. And it is more than just a fishing tournament because there are elements that are extreme, and I don't know, I'm just drawn to this. So whenever U.S. Open time comes around, I always want to talk to the winner because I think it's a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and yeah, you're right. It can be very extreme out there.
So this tournament dates back to 1981. You're one of a handful of anglers now that have won it multiple times. I mean, how does that feel? I got to imagine pretty good, but expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels awesome. You know, I still live on winnings. You know, I got some great sponsors that help me out, but when you look at the cost of, fishing professionally, I still gotta cash checks to be able to feed my family. You know what I mean? And so this provides, a lot for my family, and that means a ton to me. And I think, getting the second trophy, it kind of means even more, It's not that the first one didn't mean something, because it did, man. It was awesome. And but to get two, man, that's incredible. And just super thankful for sure.
The open winners that I've interviewed in the past, a lot of them, like yourself, have well-developed careers in the sport, but they all have like a special place in their heart for the U.S. Open. Is this like, in terms of all your accomplishments, is the U.S. Open one of those things you just kind of really highly value more than others?
Yeah, it is. I tried before I won the first one. I mean, I was trying to think of the first. I should have looked it up because I was trying to think of how many of them I fished, and I'm not sure. I know it was probably had to be like 1998 or something like that. So I mean, dude, it was something that in the beginning, it was like my one big shot a year at a good check to like actually get something rolling with. I was borrowing boats back then, didn't even have a boat. I would just borrow a boat and take my one shot a year. And in 2002, they used to give away a boat to the biggest single fish caught. And in 2002, I got that fish. And so that's how I got my first boat. I actually won it in the US Open. And, that enabled me to buy a bigger boat and so forth. And then I start fishing, a lot more like pro level events out west.
The U.S. Open still continues to draw big names. I mean, Rick Clunn came out again this year, and of course Mike Iaconelli, and it
Yep.
just it
Byron.
yeah, Byron Velvick. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how these guys will make time in their schedules to make sure they're out in at Lake Mead when the U.S. Open comes around.
Yeah, Kevin Short.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, all kinds of people. Yeah, it was cool. And every year there's like new guys that kind of, get the opportunity to come out and fish in it. And it's a neat deal. I mean, especially with the triple A's to where they can draw someone like Rick Clunn. How else are you going to be able to go fishing with Rick Clunn for the day? You know, it's crazy. I mean, Aaron's fished a lot of them.
Yes.
He's won it 3 times. I mean, your opportunities of drawing someone really, really cool are outstanding, man. It's a great format, and man, it's a lot of fun.
One of my
It,
one of my one of my favorite memories of the U.S. Open myself was showing up to Colville Bay super early in the morning. I wanted to get out before anybody else did to pre-fish. And here's Rick Clunn camped on the ramp. I mean, it's like right on the ramp next to the water. It's like,
You're gonna
wow.
beat him, I guess.
Yeah, no, I did not beat him on the water that day.
And it is too. I mean, once like when I talked to Mike a little bit about it, and it's like once you fish it once and do decent, or you get kind of that taste in your mouth, I mean, it becomes a burning desire to try and win. I know a lot of my friends have gotten really close, and man, it just drives them nuts. You know what I mean? It's such a cool tournament, and to get a win in it means a lot for the Western fishermen, especially.
I've always thought that tournament is the true test of what a person can do because that lake is so tough. And now with maybe a third of the water in it, or even less than that, than it
Yeah,
normally has, what a puzzle.
yeah, it sure can be. And those fish, we call them schizophrenic because
Yeah.
they can be here one day. I mean, you can see 100 bass in a cove one day, and you go there and you won't even get a bite the next day sometimes.
Been
It's so
there,
wild.
been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Change. It's inevitable. To improve, you must adapt. The sport is evolving. A paradigm shift is a fundamental change of basic concepts. Don't get left behind. Introducing Paradigm. Paradigm Reels by Duckett Fishing. Pro-driven.
We're talking to Roy Hockey as the winner of the 2021 U.S. Open at Lake Mead, his second U.S. Open win. So you won this event in 2015. It was about the same time, I believe, back then. Still in the fall
Yeah. It
in
was, I
2015.
believe it was in September that year.
Okay, yeah. So a little bit earlier, late summer. Um, what is different about the lake now than then? I'm obviously probably the water temperature. I mean, not, I mean, sorry, but the water depth. But is what was there smallmouth as important then as they are now?
Yeah, definitely. And just speaking for myself, and what happened in the two events for me, I actually weighed in more smallmouth in 2015 than I did this year. So they were a little bit more important. They were both equally as important because they both added up to a win. But I caught more of them, and I think my single biggest fish I weighed in 2015 was a smallmouth, where this time it was a largemouth. So I don't know, probably I would say the population's kind of stable. They are newer to the reservoir, but I would say it's pretty similar population ratio from 2015 to now. It was vastly different as far as there's no bushes at all in the water this year, where at least you had some around the shoreline in 2015. The grass is about the same. we got a pretty good grass population there in some of the bays and whatnot. And I would say there could even have been maybe a little bit more grass in some areas this year. I think I was talking with some of my friends of like why that would happen. And one of our theories is as the lake goes down, all that nutrients that was in the sediment and stuff kind of starts leaching out and makes for a little bit more fertile water and maybe enhances the grass to grow and that type of stuff. There was tons and tons of shad in the lake this year. It just seemed really healthy. The weights didn't really show it yet, but I think if it maintains that type of nutrient rich type of environment, I mean, the fish gotta get bigger. The shad population is booming right now, so it looks good for the future.
It's really good to hear that. Hear that Lake Mead, even though it doesn't have the water, it has a good population of shad. I was going to ask about bluegill. That to me has always been a back of the cove summer kind of thing. If you find grass and find bluegill, the bass are in that area always. Was that a factor at all?
It wasn't for my win necessarily, just because I was kind of in some off color water and I was fishing more out on hard structure. But yeah, in practice and stuff, I noticed bluegill and tilapia both in the backs of some of the coves. And the only thing that worries me is as the winter starts to progress, the grass will die off, and then there isn't a lot of stuff for the small bluegill and young of the year bass and such to hide in. Once that grass is gone, I don't know what there's going to be available, and so that may hurt it in the long run. I'm not sure, but I mean, there's still plenty of rock, but still they prefer bushes or something they can really get into, to hide and protect themselves.
Coming into the event, I mean, obviously, you must have known that we knew that the water was going to be low. Did that affect how you prepared for the tournament, or were you considering
It,
that?
it's been steadily falling for years now, and even in 2015, it was low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're at 100 and some odd feet low, so it's been low for a long time, but it just keeps getting lower and lower. So and a lot of the bays, you went there last year or the year before, those are still good bays. You know what I mean? They may not be, ambushing off this one rock pile or this one, bush or whatnot, but like that bay still holds bass still. So it's
Okay.
it's still very similar. It's always changing. Each year it's a little bit different, and how the fish position, but like general good areas are still going to be general good areas.
Okay, what did you learn in practice? Did you do much pre-practice up before the event? And then at the actual event practice itself, what did you determine?
Um, it was a really weird deal because I didn't allow myself to practice much out of the Vegas wash area. Pretty much almost the whole time, other than one windy day, I pretty much kept going right to Vegas Wash, and I just got really intimate with that one area in Vegas Wash. I learned what casts to make and where certain rocks were that I wanted to target, and where break lines were, and just really got intimate with it. I knew where to cast. That was the big thing for me, and I wanted to just keep doing the same thing every day. When I got back into areas I figured I would use in the tournament, I didn't fish a lot. I did a lot of graphing, looked around a lot, things like that. And, on the outside edges, I would fish a little bit, throw some baits, this and that. But just spent a lot of time back there, just trying to figure out precision casts to make more than anything.
Wow. That you won that event fishing in Vegas Wash then.
I did, yeah.
Did
Yep.
you did you win 2015 in Vegas Wash, or did you win that somewhere else?
No, that was just all around the lower basin. I
Okay.
did stay in that tournament. The one thing that was kind of similar is I really didn't allow myself to practice outside of the lower basin. I didn't spread myself too thin on that one as well. This one was a lot more narrowed. And in 2015, I mean, I covered a lot of ground throughout each day. I'd fish a lot of spots, and I fished very fast, and you know, it was a considerably different type of fishing. I caught almost all of them on a topwater bait, and this one I caught them almost all on jigs. So
Okay. I
Yep.
mean, that's what's interesting about Mead is that U.S. Open has been won in so many different places.
Yeah.
It's been won up in Temple Bar and beyond that, and it's
Yep.
been won in Echo Bay and beyond that. It never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I call it a puzzle because Lake Mead is so big and has so many different places that you couldn't really ever become intimate with an area in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is too. I mean, if you look at all the, if we just went year by year, it was one this year in this location, and this year, the next year in this location. Every year it's one in a different spot. And totally, almost every time it's some other technique. I mean, next year it'll probably be one drop shot in
Right,
30, 40 feet of water, or maybe it'll be one at, on buzz baits up in the Colorado. You know what I mean?
right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Um, so coming out of practice, did you feel like you had a chance to win? I mean, does anybody ever feel like they have a chance to win? I mean, what were your feelings?
It was really horrible fishing back there where I decided to fish. I mean, it's really tough. There wasn't a lot of bites. A few of the fish that I saw, I didn't go around sticking a bunch of fish, but the few I saw were quality fish. So it gave me a lot of hope. And I just had an overwhelming feeling, to fish in there and just stay in there and stay focused and stay engaged with every cast, that type of stuff. Even though I knew going in it was going to be fertile, it was probably one of the worst places on the lake to fish as far as getting bites. I mean, I talked to several of my friends that were getting 20, 30, sometimes even 40 bites a day, and I'm looking to maybe get five, you know. So I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, I read in Jay Kumar's column that he writes, you talked to him and you said that you were drawn to that area. And I mean, have you figured it out yet what it was that called you there? I mean, was it the water clarity? Was it temperature? What do you think? What was it? Was it bait?
Look, when I sit and be real quiet and I kind of visualize like what to do and where to go, I was just led that way. I believe the Lord just put it on my heart. And he was testing me. You know what I mean? He was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, this is what you need to do. And then it was so brutally tough in there. I mean, the first day I didn't have it. We had one keeper at noon. I mean, a squeaker. And, it took all I had to not just take off out of there. You know what I mean? And I did. I ran out of there, but I was only out for 20, 30 minutes and I knew I had to go back. And then as soon as I went back, boom, I caught a 3 pounder and then like another quality fish. And we progressed it. We ended up only catching 5 keepers that day.
Every time I interview somebody like yourself that has won a big tournament, it seems like there is this intuitive calling, like you're talking about,
You know,
intuition. And,
mhm.
it's the kind of thing that we probably hear all the time when we're on the water, but we don't always listen to it.
Yeah.
And every time I interview someone that has won a big tournament, it always comes down to them listening to that, whatever that thing is inside us that pulls us to a certain area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got kind of a saying, like all we can do is our best. You know what I mean? Take care of all the variables we
Yeah,
possibly can. And how we finish in a bass tournament, it's really not even any of our business. Because we can't determine how Mike Iaconelli does.
right,
Mike Iaconelli might weigh 30 pounds. You
right.
know what I mean? And we only weigh 20 and we don't win. We can't control that. All we can control is what we do and try to be the best that we can. And how you finish in a bass tournament is really none of your business because you can't control it. You know what I mean? You just gotta
Yeah, you're right.
let it happen the way it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So day one, you said was very, very tough.
Yeah.
You got, I guess your 5 keepers, most of them came in the afternoon, or when did you get them?
Yeah. My co-angler actually caught our first one, my AAA, they call them AAA in the one bass
Mhm.
in that shared weight format. He caught our first, now I'm going to say scoreable,
Yeah,
MOF style.
right.
Our first keeper and just a small little squeaker, but super valuable to have. I mean, at least we had one. And yeah, the rest of them came in the afternoon, and we only had 4 other keeper bites. We ended up weighing 2 nice ones around 3 pounds, and then 3 of them that were basically just barely squeakers.
Okay, and that gave that. I'm trying to remember. Was it somewhere around 10 pounds for day one?
Yeah. Yep. Low tens. I can't remember either. Maybe no more than 10 and a quarter.
Yeah, yeah. Now, actually, I got kind of ahead of myself because day one wasn't day one. Day one was a wind blowout day. I was going to ask you the question if how that affected you, but actually, I think it affected you pretty well because you won the tournament. But I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, did that change any kind of thinking? Do you think the wind helped your area or hurt your area? What do you think?
I don't think it did either, really, actually. I don't think that it helped and I don't think it hurt. With the high winds the way they were it blew really hard one direction for half the day and then the other half the day it blew really hard the other direction. And so I didn't, man, showing up there first thing in the morning on day two now, I didn't know if everything would be blown out. I mean, but it really wasn't bad. The water had a little bit more color to it, but back there it's generally off color anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was in good shape. I was pleasantly surprised for sure.
Okay. So day two, you came, you were fourth after day one. Is that right?
12.
Oh, 12. I got my numbers
Yeah.
mixed. Okay. So yeah.
But
So
but the guys were packed in. I mean, anybody in probably the top 15 with a decent bag could have won this event.
right.
It was
Right.
really tight. Yeah.
Well, take us through that crucial last day of the tournament where you put 11 plus pounds on the scale, and people that are listening to this think, well, 11 pounds, but 11
Yeah.
pounds at Lake Mead, that is like a 30-pound bag.
I know. I know. It really yeah, it was crazy. I was really by going into the second day and what I caught the first day and seeing that, I had two bigger fish. And I thought, man, going into that last day, if I could get three or four of those bites, I'm going to have what they would call a mega bag. You know what I mean? It would be like
Yeah.
14 to 16 pounds, depending on how they fell. And so I knew the potential was there. And I knew, I was talking to my AAA. I'm like, dude, we just got to get in there, slow down, make sure we're 100% focused, capitalize on every bite we get. I mean, everything became super crucial. To make it pay off, it's going to have to be precise. And yeah, we ended up with six keeper bites that day, and so we culled one time, and then dude, that was culling, line burners. This line burner's a
Yeah.
hair bigger than this line burner. And then we had two big ones. I had one around 3 pounds, and then I had a 4 3/4.
Oh, that's a big fish on Lake Mead. Wow.
So that ended up being the biggest bass of the tournament. I caught that around, I want to say around 11 o'clock. So we threw that thing in the box, and man, it was like, dude, we got something. You know what I mean? Now we just got to figure out how to fill in this limit. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and that's something you can do something with here. And yeah, we ended up catching one more 3 pounder that day and filled out our limit with just average keeper bass, and it was enough. So each one of those little squeakers was just as valuable as a three
Yes.
or 4 pounder. Because if we don't have one of those little 1 pounders, I mean, I'm minus a pound and I don't win.
Right. Right. It was that close. That's why I said that tournament with 3 days is always micro close, but
Yeah.
give it 2 days and there's no separation at all.
Yeah, it was wild, man. And I don't know, just that's generally not my style to fish a U.S. Open where you get in a spot and fish super slow like that. I mean, I'm used to running around throwing crankbaits, top water, and really moving and jiving, and hitting a bunch of different spots and staying around real high energy zones. And it's all about outcasting everybody and being able to move, here to each spot quickly and think and be real efficient. But this was like just settle into an area, fish super slow, make precise casts, visualize every rock as that jig hit that rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where those bigger bites came from, and that's what made all the difference for me.
So of your 10, so you had 11 keepers total then, right? For 2 days. How
Yeah,
were any of those keepers smallmouth?
yeah. Three of them were.
Three of them
We
were.
rode two one day and one the last day.
Okay, because yeah, that Vegas wash, it to me, it's always been kind of the off color water that you can find because Lake Mead is so clear, You
Yeah,
can usually find some off-color water down there, and I was just wondering if the smallmouth like that or not.
they generally aren't back in there. But yeah, there was a few in this one cove. We caught some other ones that were, short and whatnot as well with them. Not a ton, but just a few,
Yeah.
and I'm glad we at least ran into
Yeah.
a few because they were valuable,
Yeah, they were.
man.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were. Folks, we're talking to Roy Hawk. He is the winner of the 2016. Well, I'm sorry, wrong year. He's the winner of the 2015 and 2021 U.S. Open. Roy, you made a crucial decision to leave BASS in 2019 to fish the Bass Pro Tour. Has that been a good experience for you?
Yeah, it has actually. I suck at it. I suck at the format, but I think I'm getting better. you
Well,
know,
I think you're qualified to come back next year, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm getting better at it. And man, I've never, it's so intense, the intensity level and the adrenaline that it produces. And it's like, it's like getting shot out of a cannon every day. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. The pace of the game is so intense, and just having to get bit all the time like that is just nuts. And but yeah, I think I'm getting better at it, and hopefully, we'll see next year. Hopefully I can maybe get in a top 10 or something,
Well, I find that for a viewer, someone I mean I like to watch these broadcasts. It is you can't leave the room, and I mean you're watching people fishing, but you can't leave the room. I mean, this is
Yeah,
fishing, and it's a spectator sport all of a sudden. And I know there's not way. I know the weigh-ins are not exciting, and I know there's not. The meet and greet kind of thing isn't there as much. But
yeah,
that is a very exciting format.
it is. It's intense, man. I love it. And I got a lot of friends and family and stuff that aren't even, they don't fish, but they sure watch that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's high drama. It's high drama. So I
Yeah.
was gonna ask you, do you fish differently in an every fish matters format compared to like what you were doing at the U.S. Open, where you're looking for the five biggest? Do you fish differently in those situations?
I'm still young at that game. This is a lot of those guys, they fished that style for 8 years before ever getting the Bass Pro Tour. And so they've gotten accustomed to it. And some of them, that was just their they always went to like the best places in the lake and caught lots of fish, and that's how they won five fish tournaments. But my way has always been to go to crappy areas of the lake where you don't get a lot of bites, but hopefully they're bigger ones. And so I'm still young in how to figure out how to be good at that, every fish count type of scenario. But yeah, so I take a variety of stabs at it. Sometimes I fall back on, what I'm good at and try it that way. And sometimes I just try and like, okay, I just got to get lots of bites and try, like say drop shotting, which I'm decent at it, but it's not like my number one thing. But I'll still utilize it and try and see if I just drop shot this whole tournament, what's it going to look like at the end? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it just about getting bites, or is quality fish going to matter? You know what I mean? And just taking like different angles at it to try and figure out the best routes. And I think that, it can change somewhat, per fishery and things like that. But, I'm definitely no expert at that format yet. But we're all students of the game, and I appreciate the challenge of it. And I can choose to go fish whatever I want, but man, I'm going to choose to go back because I'm determined to get good at it.
Well, and when they slap a 2 pound minimum,
Yeah,
that kind of change because those are bigger fish. Those
yeah,
those are fish you have to fish bigger techniques for.
yeah. And a lot of times, a 2 pounder actually outweighs what the length. If it's like a 14-inch minimum or whatever, a 2 pounder would actually be a bigger bass than what that minimum is in a five fish tournament.
Right,
So
right.
sometimes we're even targeting larger bass than what you would in a fly fish tournament to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, that's right. So the big news out here is is the Western Bass Shootout that's just been announced. There was a big press conference. Mike Iaconelli was there, and Rick Pierce from Bass Cat Boats, and all the people. A combination of Juan Bass, Wild West Bass, Major League Fishing Toyota Series, and Apex Tour Pros fishing in a Bassmaster Classic like event. This is These are the words they use to describe it.
Right.
It's a new format for anglers in the West. I mean, I got to believe your interest is peaked.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty big event. It sounds like they're going to put a lot of energy around it. It's supposed to be like an arena type event where we're going
Yeah.
to have a lot of outdoor product sponsor booths, that type of stuff. Try and draw a big crowd, that type of thing. And yeah, man, it's going to be a neat deal. I don't know if I'll be able to fish enough of those events to be able to fit the criteria, to be able to qualify for it. But man, I'd sure like the opportunity. I wish they'd just say, hey, if you won the US Open last year, you're in.
Should be an automatic qualification right there. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be. You're right.
winning, you're in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what those dates are.
Yeah.
Obviously, you will be with the Bass Pro Tour next year. Do you fish other events other than that during the year?
Oh, 100%. I fish some people are like, what do you do during your downtime? Like, what do you do in the off season? A lot of guys go hunting or whatever. Some guys never pick up a rod once the tour ends. They never even pick up a rod until February. But dude, I don't have an off season. I fish everything from Wednesday nighters, team tournaments, everything, anything they'll let me into. I fish. Me and my buddy Mark, we're going to head up to Clear Lake this next week and fish the ABA team classic up there, and then we'll have another team classic down here at Havasu/Mojave. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't know if you saw how ABA is doing their team classic this year.
I haven't seen that.
It's pretty cool. So like at Havasu, you fish 2 days, and then they're gonna take the top 10 guys, and then all the angler of the years from each group or team of the years, I guess they'd be
Yeah.
from each of the regions at that championship, and take them to Mojave for it'll be maybe a dozen guys, 15 guys probably, for a 1 day shootout to win the boat.
That sounds like fun. And you speak of
Oh
Lake
yeah.
Mojave. Lake Mojave is really coming on. It might be in the argument for which is the best lake on the chain now. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think
Maybe
yeah,
Havasu's
you
got to
could
beat.
probably you could it between that and Havasu. Havasu's got more bass per mile than Mojave does, but I'm just trying to think of like if you had the five biggest fish, probably still come out of Havasu.
Okay.
But Mojave's right there close. I mean, you can get a 25-pound bag out of Mojave. You could do it on all smallmouth.
Well, that's the thing that's impressed me so much about Mojave the last time I was there was all the smallmouth bass there. I mean,
Hmm.
Mojave was it was hard to catch keeper fish there. I can remember struggling to catch a sink driving all the way across the desert to fish a team tournament in Mojave, hoping to catch one keeper largemouth. But now you got smallmouth in there and it's pretty good lake.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. It really is. It's a beautiful lake, and then like you said, the population of both largemouth and smallmouth, they put a lot of habitat in there as well, like they did at Havasu.
Yeah.
Not nearly as much, but they at least attempted the project, and I think it helped the largemouth population as well.
No, that's good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Roy, I really appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. We'll keep an eye on how you're doing and we'll stay in touch. Best of luck to you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, man. I hope to do something this year that would make it to where I am back on your show. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you don't have to win a tournament just to come on the show. We'll take a look and see maybe you're able to throw your hat in this Western Bass shootout, and we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
All right. Sounds good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, thanks a lot, and we appreciate that, and congratulations again.
Thanks, brother. Take care
All
now.
right, bye.
Young man, take a look at me now.